Let's get the latest details now from Amanda, who's also outside. Amanda.
Well, it is very tricky to forecast at the moment, but there is some pretty bad weather heading our way, especially for the south of the region. And this cold and snowy weather stays with us right up into the weekend. So the whole region currently has a weather watch for the next few days, but the places in our region which the Met Office are most concerned about for the next 24 hours are Northamptonshire, Buckinghamshire and Lincolnshire, as it could be up to 15 centimetres of snowfall. Now, our region is being attacked on two fronts. There is an area of snow linked to that low pressure over the channel. That will cause problems for the south of the UK tonight and could just creep into southern parts of our region, causing some significant accumulations. There's also low pressure out in the North Sea, which will feed in the next batch of snow during tomorrow, which will then push southwards during the day. So I'm afraid it is coming at us from all angles, and it doesn't look like it's going to improve well into the weekend, and it looks like into next week.
Thanks, Amanda. We'll see you a little bit later. We are watching Tuesday's Anglia tonight. Up next, all the news from where you live.
Yes, Amanda will. Right, let's have some more news now from your part of the world. And the Prime Minister was in Essex today to visit the site of a new deep-sea port. Mr Brown paid a visit to Thurrock alongside the Business Secretary, Lord Mandelson, and said the development of the London Gateway port would bring jobs, growth and prosperity. He also said it was a sign of the country's economic recovery.
This is a great way to start the decade. One of the biggest ever investments in Britain, the biggest container port and terminal that will be in Europe, 36,000 jobs to be created as a result of it, 12,000 in the construction phase. And this means that work that's previously been done in mainland Europe will come to Britain.
Meanwhile, a huge wind farm off the coast of Norfolk and Suffolk looks set to win government approval later this week. The new wind farm, about 15 miles offshore, would have around 1,000 turbines, dwarfing the 30 at Scroby Sands near Great Yarmouth. The government's expected to confirm plans for 9 wind farms across the country in the next few days. A man's been arrested following a siege this afternoon in Walton on the Naze in Essex.
Armed police surrounded a flat on the Parade for more than an hour. Tom Barton has this report.
A man is holed up in a flat in Walton on the Naze, throwing things out of the window at the police who are surrounding him.
Michael.
They attempt to negotiate with the man who's wanted for an earlier domestic incident. Police say they'd been tipped off that he was at the flat. Armed officers arrive on the scene where there is a growing police presence and a small crowd gathers nearby to watch events unfold. A group of people appear to be evacuated from nearby homes and are led away for their safety. More than half an hour after the siege begins, police gain access to the flat. During a search of the property, they recover an air weapon. The man is arrested and taken away in a police van. A peaceful conclusion to a dramatic episode in this small and usually quiet seaside town. Tom Barton, Anglia News.
A couple who tried to smuggle 7 wild tortoises through Stansted Airport have been ordered to carry out community service. Michael Gates and his partner Carol Wormley have also been banned from keeping reptiles for 10 years. They tried to bring the tortoises through customs in their luggage from Corfu, Harlow Magistrates Court was told.
A new stroke unit's opened in Norwich at a cost of £8 million. The Mulberry Rehabilitation Unit on Bowthorpe Road will contain 48 beds and state-of-the-art equipment for patients from across Norfolk. It'll cater for people well enough to leave acute care beds at the Norfolk and Norwich University Hospital, but not yet able to return home. Hospital chiefs at the Norfolk and Norwich hope it'll reduce bed blocking.
It's wonderful. I didn't even know there was so much behind here. Never mind new facilities.
We have a kitchen for both of the units as well, so that staff can trial making their own meals and make themselves cups of tea ready to be discharged to their home. We hope to be able to do that as quickly as possible and get patients out where they need to be in their own homes.
Now, a mystery donor who admired the work of the Walton and Frinton lifeboat has left the station £1 million.
The woman, who was in her 90s, had a holiday home in the area and became interested in the charity. Crew members say they're touched by her generosity. Victoria Webb reports.
From her clifftop holiday home in Walton on the Naze in Essex, the mystery donor would watch as the lifeboat left for its next rescue mission. All we know about her was that she was in her 90s when she passed away. She never married or had children and admired the work of the RNLI so much that she left them a considerable amount of money.
It was obviously unbelievable to start with. I've never known in my 40-odd years with the lifeboat anything like this before, but to be told we'd had a legacy of £1 million left to the station was quite incredible.
Walton Lifeboats, Thames Coast Guard, over.
Thames Coast Guard, Walton.
There's been a lifeboat at Walton on the Naze since 1884. The work they do relies upon the generosity of people like this lady and also the volunteers who give up their time to be crew members. Simon Berry has dedicated 25 years to the job and is called out at all hours.
Saturday, yeah, this is 1:30 in the morning. We got paged to go to a large trawler about 26 miles out. He got a rope around his propeller in near the shipping lanes. We had about 3 metre swell running, so 10 foot, and 5 to 6 gale force wind, and it was snow showers and very cold.
Last year we went out 26 times, so that's 26 boats or people that were saved who perhaps wouldn't be here today.
To train each crew member costs just over £1,000 each year, so some of the money from the donation will go towards more training, but also towards buying more life jackets like this one, which cost nearly £400 each. 30 years ago, Phil carried out building work at the home of the mystery donor. Little did he know back then that the lady he met would go on to leave such a legacy. Victoria Webb, Anglia News, Walton on the Naze.
Oh, you deserve it, guys, you really do.
Now, a couple from Basset in Norfolk got more than they bargained for after their Basset hound had a huge litter of pups. Tessa's owners were hoping for 2 puppies to keep her company, but imagine their surprise when she went into labour. 11 actually appeared. Apparently, the owners had to sleep alongside Tessa for 3 weeks to stop her smothering them. Oh, aren't they gorgeous?
Now, they're probably the last group you'd suspect of reckless driving.
Yes, but apparently people on mobility scooters are not always as skillful as they might be at the controls.
After a series of minor accidents, Norfolk police have decided that perhaps a little tuition might be in order before they take to our pavements and streets. Martin Stew reports.
They might not look sinister, and most only travel at walking pace, but believe it or not, mobility scooters are the latest target of the police. Hard to believe today when the snow kept most of those less mobile at home, but rising complaints about reckless scooter driving in Norfolk have led the police to offer free lessons.
Well, what we're doing is we're encouraging them to come and do some training with us to learn how to use mobility scooters properly. As you're aware, there isn't a huge amount of legislation, which also means that there is no driving course as such that they can have.
Shops registered by the industry watchdog do offer training when they sell a scooter, but that's not always the case.
They abide by a code of conduct, and they produce a leaflet, which is a highway code for scooter users, and they give training to the people before they buy the scooter. However, not all the shops are like this, and you can buy them second-hand, and therefore people who perhaps have never driven a car before suddenly find themselves on a scooter.
These models designed for use on pavements are limited to 4 miles an hour.
But to take one of these on the roads, you need one of these which is limited at 8 miles an hour. Now, this is brand new. It's essentially the Rolls-Royce of mobility scooters, complete with motorbike suspension and even indicators.
With no driving tests or insurance required, taking them on the roads poses new safety risks. So much so, it was the topic of debate today in Parliament.
Allowing users the opportunity of taking a proficiency test, which would be done on a voluntary basis, very much along the lines of the schemes which have recently been trialled by Norfolk Police.
Age concerns support the plans as long as they don't discriminate.
Any change in legislation, any training, which we would welcome, must go right across all age groups, and older people shouldn't be singled out.
There's no doubting the independence scooters offer to their users, but with 1 death a year, the argument for clearer legislation is growing. Martin Stew, Anglia News, Norwich.
Well, there you go. It sounds comical, but it's a serious issue.
It is. They've changed a bit, haven't they?
Now, if you live